Hey guys, it's Psychosis here, and today I have for you another review. And today I'll be reviewing Of Mice and Men's album Tether, which is their newest album. And this one came out as a surprise initially when it released because I had no idea this band was releasing a new album. And since I've gotten into this band like a lot, like I really like this band, I'm like, ooh, sweet, a new Of Mice and Men album. So I figured, well, what the heck, I'm going to finally sit down and review it, as I have listened to this album a bunch. This is not one of the first time or a second time listening and I decided to review it. I've listened to this album a bunch. Initially, when I first heard it, that was all I had on repeat for like a few days. And so yeah, today I will be reviewing Of Mice and Men's album Tether, which is their newest album. And starting off, as you can see, the artwork's kind of basic. It's just, yeah, it's just a white background with like a purple Rorschach painting or whatever, ink blot, whatever it's called. I brain fart there. Like a purple ink blot test, basically. Yeah, so the artwork's really basic. It doesn't really jump out or jive to me very well, but that's Of Mice and Men. They're not really, they never really have like crazy artwork or anything, like really basic. Yeah, that's also how I would describe this album. Starting off with the music, the most important thing why we're here. The music. The music just, I don't really like this album very much. I mean, initially I really liked it because it was new and exciting, but I've listened to it so many times, and after listening to this album compared to their older ones, I really did not like it as much as their older ones. The music's like, I don't know, the music just feels like really one tone. Like, of all their albums, this one feels the most formulaic. Like, they had a formula and they just went with the formula for all the songs on the album. I mean, there's some variation, obviously, there's different songs, but it just feels like every song was written exactly on point to what they wanted. And they wanted like one big point, but they changed it a few times for the rest of the album. But yeah, it's just, albums just didn't really jump out to me. It feels really one tone. Music tone is just okay. It feels really flat on this album. Yeah, just tone feels really flat. It just feels very uninspired as an album. Like just kind of the generic, like stereotypical example of how people of older generations probably viewed newer metal. Just this album's the epitome of that feeling, just really uninspired, really depressed, kind of. That's this album. I mean, even the name Tether doesn't really bring a bell of excitement. It's just Tether, one word. The artwork is basic. And yeah, it's just really disappointing. I mean, I did like it though. I don't exactly hate it. Like did enjoy the music a little bit because it's Of Mice and Men. What I mean is, it's just I just wasn't feeling this album very much, especially after I listened to it a bunch. This album does not really stand up too well, and by the time will pass, this album will be totally forgotten about, which is really sad because, like I said, I really like this band. I've really fallen in love with this band in the past year or two. And yeah, I was hoping it'd be better than it was. So music wise, production wise, surprisingly, is kind of iffy. Like I said, the tone just feels one dimensional. The music doesn't really jump out. It doesn't really have any bite or kick or punch. And that's kind of why it's just right off the bat. And the production, I mean, it's clean, but it just feels flat. Everything just feels flat about this album. It doesn't, like I said, there's nothing explosive or anything really good with this album. And yeah, nothing really explosive. A lot more singing on this album, which I like the singing of this band. And someone who likes the singing more, it's actually kind of disappointing. I kind of wanted there to be more heavy parts, like breakdowns and more screaming. It would have added more variety to this album than just what it had. It really needed that extra momentum, basically. And just, yeah, and then really like that part. I mean, like I said, I still found enjoyment in this album, though. I'm not saying I entirely hated it. There's songs I liked. Like the title track, Tether, was pretty good. I sung along the chorus a bunch. War Paint, Eternal Pessimist. Those songs are really good off the top of my head. Oh, one with the sun, but yeah, those songs were good. But just some of them were just kind of lost interest in me. Like the second to last one, I think it was called Indigo. It's just a slow song, and it starts off pretty good, but I don't know. My interest in that song waned pretty fast. I think that was the first song I heard from that album. Album actually, it was shuffle played when I was on Spotify, and then I just heard the rest of the album. And yeah, that song, the final song, I don't really connect with those songs. The first song is pretty good. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called Integral. I'll have to look it up. Yeah, just only a couple like highlight songs, and I think all those songs are singles. I could be wrong. Yeah, just this album just feels really uninspired. That's basically what there is to say about it. It just feels flat, and that it's lacking any punch or kick or impact that an album should have, especially an album that falls under the metalcore post-hardcore label. It should have like some sort of impact with the music, energy to it, but this album just doesn't have that. It's kind of uninspired, flat, kind of lazy. Like I said, it's really formulaic. Like they have as if the band had a formula and they just rolled with it, which I mean they kind of do. Every big band has one, but they kind of fell hard on it and played it extremely safe and just follow the formula, like following the script to a T. And that, yeah, we work on paper, but when it comes to listening to albums and enjoying the album, I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought it was gonna be. And yeah, from what you can tell, this review is pretty short. I don't know. I think this is the first album I've reviewed on my channel so far where I'm just kind of like, whatever. Just really sad because, like I said at the beginning of this video, I really like this band. I've really fallen in love with their music, and I've binged at least half of their discography on repeat quite a lot in the past year or two. But yeah, this album's not one of those albums, and it won't be anytime soon. And it's just, as I said, I'm a huge fan of this band, but this album is not cut out for me. Like, I could consider this one of their worst albums they have ever made. Cold World might actually be worse. Might be better, I don't know. I'll have to re-listen to that one, but Tether just sucks. Like, really blunt word, it just kind of sucks. That's all I can say about it. Just from the album art to the production and whatnot, it just feels really flat and uninspired and depressed. That's this album. That's Tether. Just not a really good album, in my opinion. Or at least not a great album or an amazing album. Like, this is not an album that people are going to be talking about a decade from now, 5 years from now, even a year or two from now, for that matter. Like, not going to be some future classic or anything. This isn't a Sempiternal or Restoring Force. It's just Tether. It just exists. This album just exists. Just really sad because I had high hopes for this album. When I first found out they made a new one out of the blue, I'm like, oh cool, there's a new album. Let's listen to it. It's On Mice and Men. And then I heard it, and it might be one of their worst albums. And in a way, it's in the lower percentile. I'll put it in the lower percentile of albums I've listened to this year. And this is really sad because the standards have been pretty high this year, honestly, for metalcore. Like, metalcore this year has been absolutely amazing, and this album just doesn't even make the cut, which is really sad because I like this band more than those other bands that have been releasing absolute fire albums. But yeah, it's just this album sucks. And yeah, just really average, really uninspired. My final review, and for my final review for this album, I will give this album a 5 out of 10. Yeah, just really average, really bland and uninspired. I've said that like a billion times in this review, but that's what it is. I have to be blunt with it. I hope I don't sound depressed talking about it. Maybe I do. I don't know. Just, I did not like it. And yeah, if you want to listen to a metalcore album or a Mice and Men album, just listen to everything else by them. Because this album just isn't very good. I mean, the choruses are fun. You can probably sing to some of them. Like I said, like One with the Sun. Just singing like One with the Sun, or whatever is fun, but it just rhyme there, but it's just, I don't know, everything this in this album that's good, the band themselves have done better, and everybody else has done better tenfold this year and previous years. This album is just terrible, kind of. I mean, it's not, that word's wrong. It's just okay. This album's not terrible. I think I've only heard one album this year that could be considered terrible, or very few albums of my life that could actually be objectively terrible, but this album's not that, but it's just not inspired. Just sad, like I said. Very sad album. It's really depressing because it's just average and bland. And yeah, if you want to listen to this type of sound, just listen to any one of Mice and Men's albums or any similar band. The previous albums or any other band, because what you'll find will be better than this. I hate being like negative, but like I said, this is my first review of an album on my channel where I'm just like, whatever, or this is disappointing. Like, I've actually finally hit a disappointing album. So if it feels like I'm just pulling higher ratings out of my butt for every album, that's not the case. Just because I want to give an album praise. Like, those albums I generally rate albums how I feel they should be rated, and this album is definitely a 5 out of 10. So maybe you could rate it higher, maybe you could rate it lower. I'm rating it a 5 out of 10. But yeah, that will be my review. 5 out of 10 for Tether by Of Mice and Men. One of the low points of this year. Just a low tiered effort by a highly rated popular band in this scene, in the whole scene, metalcore, post-hardcore side of things, which is very sad because I had high hopes for this album, and maybe my standards inflated my expectations more than I should have had. I don't know, but just did not feel this album. Yeah, that will be my review. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. And as I've said in my previous reviews, I do take requests for albums to review because I enjoy talking about music. I just enjoy talking about albums. So if you have a request for album for me to review just because you're curious what I'll say about it, just let me know in the comments, or any other constructive criticism or whatever you want to say in the comments. Just let me know. And I like seeing comments, and I like talking about music, like I said. But yeah, that was my review. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.